Recording in progress.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And we're back. Here we are. Let's hope this one works. Can you hear me?
Couldn't.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay.
There we go. Well, here we are back on Where's Wanda? And let's hope the recording audio works this time.
Agreed.
All right. So if you just want to go ahead and introduce yourself, we will go ahead and get started.
Well, thanks for inviting me on. I know what prompted you to include me. And first of all, this is your first Zoom meeting, so I feel pretty guinea pig-like, but also I'm sure it's going to work just fine.
Absolutely.
And you'll be able to interview a whole lot of other people this way, so that's cool.
Absolutely.
My name is Marlys Shelby. I was a worshiper, and my mother was an Eichton. And my connection with Wanda is what I wanted to share with you this morning. The big thing that's happening is that the 125th anniversary committee agreed to fly my uncle's flag. My uncle, my mother's brother, was Helmer Eichton, and he was called Turk. And he was really a hero that came originally from Wanda. This is a picture of my Uncle Turk. And I don't know if you can see that there.
Yep.
So Uncle Turk was an older person who got drafted in the Second World War. And he was just a great guy. He was unmarried. He was a great guy. I never met him. Most of my cousins have never met him, but we heard great stories about him. He ended up going through training and ultimately going to France. France, they ended up coming through Marseille, and they were making their way towards Germany. And he was killed there. And he was driving a supply truck. And because he wanted to make sure the supply truck was safe, he went back to make sure that it was in a safe place, and he was killed at that point. He ultimately received the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. My grandmother evidently got notice of his being killed on Christmas Eve, 1944.
Oh, wow.
Which was, pretty sad for everybody. She chose to bury him in France because, and here's a picture of his grave. He's at the Lorraine National Cemetery there. And I've actually visited the grave.
Oh.
And it's beautifully done. They're all white crosses or other memorial monuments, and they take the sand from Omaha Beach.
Oh,
and
really?
You wave the sand across the front of the name, and then it shows up for that point in time for you to be there, and then the rain washes it away.
So, wow.
He actually died less than 300 miles away from where my grandpa and grandma were originally born, in northwestern Germany. And so I think that was maybe one of the reasons she thought it was probably just as well to leave him there. She never got to visit, but a couple of his sisters did. And he's resting at peace. He was, because he was declared a hero, this is the proclamation. I know you can't see all of that, but I'm going to bring this to you to put in the yearly Wanda Museum thing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The proclamation that was issued by the mayor of Wanda. His name at that time was Paul Spalding.
Okay.
Paul Spalding was the mayor, and this was on the 17th of January, 1945. It was declared Helmer M. Eichton Day in the town of Wanda, and he so deserved it.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I have his, because I've always been interested in family history. And at the time, a couple of my aunts passed away. They did not have children, and all of their memorabilia came to me. So I have my Uncle Turk's hat. I have his Purple Heart, his Bronze Star, and I have his flag. And let's see, about a year ago or so, even more, I spoke to Jerry Eichton, who's also a distant cousin of mine. Those Eichtons in Wanda, they took up a lot of space. There were a lot of them. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But I spoke to Jerry. He and I had been in touch back in the 1990s. when we were organizing an Eichton family reunion in Wanda. I think that was 1995 or 6. I don't know. Anyway, at that time, Jerry said he thought he could take Turk's flag and find a good place for it. And at that time, we spoke about the Memorial Park, but that didn't really happen. And so Jerry called me a couple of months ago and asked me, or told me, that he had been in conversation with the committee of the 125th anniversary, and they've agreed to fly my Uncle Turk's memorial flag at the opening ceremony on Friday afternoon, I believe it is, at 5 o'clock on the 14th of August.
That's so cool.
It is cool, and I'm excited about it. Of course, I'd love to have a whole lot of family members there, but there just aren't a lot of us that are around anymore. I live in Forest Lake, which is about a 3-hour drive, but it's well worth the trip for me. So I'll be coming down there, and then I have other family in Wabasso, and so I'll be staying overnight and stick around a little bit.
Good.
Not going to make that whole drive back and forth in one day.
Right.
So, so that's my Uncle Turk. He, by the way, he wasn't the only one that was in the Army. His 2 brothers were also in the Army. This is my Uncle Vic and my Uncle Bill standing next to him.
Okay.
There were 3 of them in at the same time for my mother, or my grandmother, excuse me.
Oh, wow.
And the older 2 boys couldn't go because of their age. And Barney, who most people in Wanda would remember, is Barney Eichton. Barney was stayed home and ran the family farm.
Oh.
So he did not have to go. But the other 3 were in. And fortunately, Vic and Bill both were in the Pacific Theater. And they both came home safely. Obviously, every person who comes home has scars mentally, but they both came home just fine. And Turk unfortunately died in the process over in Europe. There was actually a book written a few years ago by a woman named Jill Johnson and Dean Johnson. And this is the book. It's called Little Minnesota in World War II. And what she did is she tried to write stories about all of the men, ordinary men, farmers, ordinary people who were from all the small towns in Minnesota. And each of them contributed to the war. And unfortunately, there's a high number of Minnesota small town men that died. This is the page she wrote about Helmer, about Turk.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool. I'd like to find one of those books.
Yeah, you certainly could. It's called Little Minnesota in World War II, and it's written by Jill and Dean Johnson.
Oh.
And she gave me a credit in there because I contributed to the information that she needed.
Oh, I love that.
Uncle Turk. So did my cousin Doug, and he's the older child of my Uncle Butch.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it about my Uncle Turk. There's so much information about him. I was fortunate enough to find a lot of details about, the battle and everything, but that's for another day. I want to tell you a little bit about my mother's family. So I'm going to reach over and get this photo.
Absolutely.
I think this is pretty typical of a lot of family portraits, in that era. This was taken in 1929. My mother is the second smallest of the children there, and she's about 5 years old. Turk is, I think he's the most handsome one. He's back here. But so these are the children of William and Margaret Eichton. William Eichton and Margaret Backus. William was one of Matthias and Gertrude Eichton's children. And Matthias and Gertrude were one of the founding families of the town of Wanda. And as I did my research on this and found out, it was actually I believe it was the Eichtons, the Genicus, and the Dooner families that donated land that they had originally homesteaded. They donated land to create the town of Wanda. It was at the time the railroad was coming through, and the railroad was I believe they ended up with Wanda, Wabasso, and there were 2 others along the line there. And so the town was evidently named for a Chippewa maiden, and that's at least what my book says. Um, I wanted to read you a quick passage from a book that I wrote. I wrote a 300-page family history book, so I'm kind of, I talk a lot.
That's okay. I love it.
So, Matthias and Gertrude originally homesteaded a little bit west of Wanda, and then ultimately Gertrude's brother, Matthias Gorse, ended up homesteading the original, what my mother always called the home place, which is east, a little bit south and east of Wanda. And that's where Barney and Francis and their son Roger, that's where Barney and Francis would have been. And a lot of people in Wanda would remember that. That was the home place for my mom. It's right out by where St. Matthias Cemetery is.
Okay.
Because Matthias and Gertrude, my great-grandparents, donated the land for that cemetery. And there was a dispute about the where the fence was put, that beautiful big fence that was put in, I think in the 1940s. There was a dispute about where the land ended, and at that point, my grandma and grandpa, they donated another couple of feet or whatever it was going to take, so there would never be a problem on where those graves were resting. My book here speaks to by 1901, Matthias and Gertrude had all their kids were grown. They were pretty much all grown, and they were getting out on their own. In 1901, Matthias was one of the original signers of the petition to the county to establish an incorporated town. Matthias, his brother Valentine, and other relatives were part of the 32 men signing that document. The petition passed, and Matthias was actually elected the first president of the Wanda City Council.
Oh my gosh.
My great-grandfather was the first president of the city council.
That's so cool.
Yep. So, and then now that Wanda was officially a town, Matthias and his brother Valentine purchased 6 lots in town to build a hardware store and a lumber yard. And in 1902, the Eightons donated land from their original homestead to build the second church, St. Matthias, the church that was more German than Irish. There was an Irish church out by where the cemetery is. That was St. John the Baptist, and that was more Irish.
Okay.
You know that big statue with the cross and the statue of Mary, and I think it's St. John. That's where the altar used to be for the previous church.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's okay. What that was. That's what I've been told. Everything I share is just kind of what I figured out. I don't know. It may not all be true, but that's what I am. So that's that. Let's see. Oh, Matthias, the St. Matthias, the Catholic Church there, we think it was named Matthias because it was Matthias Genicus, Matthias Eichton, and there were all these Matthiases there. Plus, there was the fact that my great-grandfather and grandmother had donated some of the land for it. So there's probably some sort of indebtedness there. I don't know.
I always giggle. I'm like, how many Matthiases was there actually? Like,
I know.
There's always someone.
And what's funny is even the original homestead that Barney and Francis lived on, excuse me, was originally homesteaded by Matthias Gorse. Matthias Gorse was Gertrude's brother.
Oh my gosh. That's so crazy.
I am kind of fortunate, though. I was going to show you. I've got the original citizenship papers of Matthias.
Oh, wow.
So he had come over with his mom and dad. That would be Peter and Catherine. They had come over, and they originally settled in Leavenworth, Minnesota. And then I think Matthias was already about 18 years old. And he ended up going to work in New Ulm for like 3 or 4 years, and then subsequently ended up homesteading near Wanda around, I want to say around 1872, something like that. So, and Gertrude must have been in there somewhere. I think he went back to pick her up in Germany. Not quite sure.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, my grandparents, I never knew my grandfather, William, or Wilhelm, but I knew my grandma really, really well, my grandma Eichton. And she lived with Barney and Francis until the mid-1950s. And that's why we would come out there. I always wanted to be from Wanda. I was a city girl. My home from the war. When, by the way, my dad's originally from Lucan, because my mother used to say she had to go to Lucan to find someone she wasn't related to. My mother was Josepha Eichten, and like I said, showed you in the picture, she came from a large family. There were 6 boys and 6 girls, and Josepha, she's also called Jeff. Anyway, she went with Barney and Francis to a ball game. Hoping she was supposed to go to a ball game. She went to a party that was being given for my future dad, who was coming home from the service. And so they went to the party, and somehow my mom never made it to the ball game. So they had quite the whirlwind romance. I think he proposed like 3 days later, and they were married. He came home in August. They were married in November.
Oh my goodness.
So then they farmed for a couple of years, but then Dad had been injured during the war, and he couldn't walk the uneven furrows of the field. So they came into the Twin Cities, and I was raised in St. Paul, all my brothers and sisters too. We always joke, though, because so Roger is really the only Eichten that was raised there in Wanda. And I think he went to Wabasso for school. But yeah, I had my mother's younger sister, Peggy, Margaret. She married a Thorsten, and they farmed just outside of Springfield. They had 7 girls and finally 1 boy.
Oh my goodness.
So I guess she had to quit then. But anyway, so all 7 of those girls always wanted to be city girls. And I always wanted to be a farm girl. So, it just speaks to how you're never quite satisfied with the life that you've been given. But we all make it work, I guess. So
absolutely.
Anyway, I'm really fortunate. I stay in touch with all of my cousins. My mom and her sisters and brothers made it a point to gather us together at least once a year, so we knew each other. And now with technology, we stay in touch, both on social media and also phone calls and stuff. So we stay in touch. I know Roger and his wife Renee, who's originally from Wabasso. Roger and Renee, I believe, are coming to the 125th.
Oh, good.
So hopefully you will meet them too.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, so they've got a great family, and we're really blessed. My oldest cousin is Charles, and he's the son of Oli, and he is 91, and he lives out in California. But I'm going to tell him all about this. He'll be thrilled.
Oh, I love that so much.
So I am looking forward to coming down for the actual raising of the flag. I'll be honored to be a part of that. And then I will bring you several items. I understand you are putting together some sort of a little museum for Wanda. Is that what you're doing?
Yep. So I redid the, go away. The 1938 standard gas station. And so known as the Beryl Station. And I am redoing that, and I am going to put all Wanda memorabilia up on the walls and have it a place where people can kind of see, old Wanda memories and memorabilia and things like that.
I think that's wonderful, and it gives me a place to bring things, and hopefully other people will do the same. It gives me a place to put things that don't belong in a box in my garage.
Absolutely.
And actually, that's why I wrote the book, because I think things from the past are important. They're not the most important, but I think it gives you a foundation. When I wrote the book about my family, I was trying to capture family stories. The first story I ever heard my grandmother say was that when she immigrated, William, my grandfather, was born here in Minnesota. But my grandmother immigrated in 1894 at the age of 13. And she said that she and her sister Lena, which, by the way, turned out to be Lena Riley. Her sister married one of the Rileys. They got off the wagon at her uncle's house. Her aunt and uncle, Matthias and Gertrude Jenicus, had sent all the tickets for them to come. It was an amazing story. But anyway, so they had gotten off the wagon at night, and there was no moonlight. So they went over and they touched the side of the house. And they both started to cry because the house was made of wood, and they thought their uncle was wealthy. And if you were anybody in Germany whose house was, your house would be made of stone. and his wasn't made of stone. And it wasn't until they saw the daylight that there's no stone there in southwestern Minnesota to build houses with.
Right.
So, and he was wealthy enough, obviously, they were wealthy enough to send 17 tickets for his two brothers-in-law and all of their children to come to
Wow.
Minnesota. Yeah, that's amazing. Both of his sisters, my great aunts, great whatever, they had passed away in Germany, and so they just made sure that they got here and got a new life, which was great. And
Aw.
Grandma's their original maiden names were Bacchus, Backes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually have. This is how nostalgic I am. I have their wedding invitation framed.
Oh.
You can't see it. You can't see it, but it says you're cordially invited to attend a reception in the evening at Eichton's Hall in Wanda, Minnesota, at Eichton's Hall on November 20th, 1901, given in honor of the marriage of Miss Maggie Bacchus to Mr. Wilhelm Eichton. So it was so funny. I always thought it was so funny because he was so formal and she was so Maggie.
Oh, I love that.
But anyway, I hope that's kind of what you had in mind.
It is. I think this is so awesome. And I really appreciate you doing this and giving us that history behind, more family. Like I always say, all roads lead to Wanda. There's always a connection. There's always.
Yeah, and you've got so many wonderful families in Wanda. Eichtons are one big one, and there's so many little branches of it everywhere. And Jerry's in one branch, I'm in another branch.
Yes.
And big families, and this is what you get.
I love it. I love it, and I appreciate it, and I really appreciate you doing this recording with me today. And I look forward to getting this posted, and I really look forward to meeting you.
Thank you. I do too. I really look forward to being in Wanda again. It's been a long time. I used to bring my folks down there for the 333 Club.
Oh, yes.
Yep. And haven't gone to that for years, but that's okay.
Well, good. I'm glad you're coming.
I am coming, and I look forward to meeting you then too, Sam.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.